5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You got some more from Zo. It's KZ here from Clapton. How you doing? How you doing? Alright. When you hear the word Daedalus and you're a coil builder, you're going to have one or two options. You're either going to get mad and you want to smack this thing, or you're smiling because you managed to build some coils which you are able to vape on yourself, your own produce which you can enjoy. Alright, so I recently had a few comments about people that are on the verge of smashing their Daedalus toolkits. But don't worry guys, I'm going to do a quad-core Clapton today. Alright, and I'm just going to show you. Be patient. I'm going to go through the different components of different places where you probably could have problems with your setup. Starting with your swivels. Alright, please do not use the standard swivels or the swivels that's been supplied with the kit. Okay, take those swivels and if you've got a neighbor, throw it over the wall. Okay, so that you can forget about it. All right, or if you've got family coming to visit from far, just pack it in one of these suitcases so that they can take it far away from you. Okay, that's the swivels with Daedalus swivels. Then go to any fishing tackle shop and get yourself decent ball bearing swivels. All right. Now I've got a whole video on swivels. Just go and check out through my archive and then you will see what the ball bearing swivels is, what I'm talking about. The other problem which I've found which could lead to a hassle, the past weekend I made a frame staple for somebody while he was sitting here, and the thing is he had a spool, a very large spool on top, and I struggled. I also had the bunching up on the wire. But then I went back and used my smaller spool like this and I didn't have an issue and I frame stapled it. So it seems that another issue could be that this little guy doesn't handle the weight on top of it that well. It makes it too heavy, and then when you clapped in with the smaller wires it doesn't give you enough pushback to be able to push this weight all the way to the back. So rather go with your smaller spools which you've got over here. Another thing, as I said, which could also be your third problem, which I've also found problem with many people, if you take your little guide and you look through your guide, just make sure it's nice and smooth through those slits. There's no obstruction on the inside. But you can also test it by getting your 4 or 3 wires, whatever, how many cores you want, get it in, stick it through that and slide this guy along. If it slides easy and smooth, you should not have an issue. Then this guy is not your problem. Alright, so first thing which we're normally going to do, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use, he wanted to use 4 26s to core, but I mean I don't vape on 26s, I vape on 28s. My builds are based on using 28s as core wires. So what I will do is I'm going to take a nice long piece of the 28, then I'm going to straighten it, and then I'm going to cut it up in 4 pieces. And if you still do not know how to straighten wire, you've got 2 options. Or you can take a long piece and use brute strength with 2 pliers on either side, and then pull it. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the one side into my drill and then use my plier on the other side, and then with a bit of tension my drill is going to straighten out the wire for me. Let's do it. So you've got my nice long piece of wire which I am going to use. Alright, so here you've got it. And then what I'm going to do is just make a little loop on this side. Just a little loop-de-loopy. That's all I'm going to do. Open up my drill and push my little loopy inside here so that the drill is going to catch it. Nice and sweet. And just close it. And as I said, the one hand I'm just going to keep on my drill. The other portion of my wire, the back end of my wire, I'm just going to attach to my plier. Okay, and that should do the trick. Right, it should be nice and straight, and just cut off the side, and there we've got it. a nice long straight piece. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this guy in 4 sections now. Okay, get my 4 pieces, and it's going to be about this length, so I can make 2 nice coils with it. So 4 straightened 28s. Now if you obviously want to do 26s, you're going to do exactly the same, but just use a 26 gauge wire. Hey. Now the next important thing which you need to do is we want to keep these 4 wires next to one another. Alright, so I use 0.3 ribbons. I just cut myself a few short pieces like this from the 0.3 ribbons, which I will then use to bind these guys together. Alright, so here's a nice short little piece of ribbon wire which I'm actually going to use, and I'm just going to take my thumb and my index finger and get these wires to lie next to one another. And then I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in this little ribbon wire like that and basically squeeze it with that finger, and then I'm going to pull it around, because the whole idea is I want to get these 4 guys next to one another so that they stay next to one another, and these tie downs are going to help me with that specific job. Okay, so if you start it, okay, you can just take your ply and just squeeze it a bit there just to flatten out things, to make sure that these guys are lying next to one another, and then you just continue it so you've got a nice little section secured. We'll still be able to move though, as you can see there. Right, so you can see our 4 wires are next to one another with a ribbon tie down. Sweet bananas. So then I'm just going to cut off the excess ribbon. So you've got this nice section over there. Okay, what I'm then going to do is I'm going to take my guide. Here's my 28 gauge guide, and I'm just going to slip it now that these wires are nicely together. I'm just going to put it through the little slit there, like so. Here you can see they're nicely together now. Noise times. See, and if I do that, my guide is moving freely. There's no problem. So I know my guide is nice and smooth on the inside. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a second tie down right in front, because this is the portion I'm actually going to put into my drill or my chuck. Okay, so I want these wires to be next to one another, and I'm going to do that by using an additional, my second piece of ribbon wire. So there the wires are nice and neatly next to one another, and this is the portion I'm going to put inside my chuck or drill head. Doesn't have to be that neat as long as they're next to one another. Right, so what I have so far is I've got my tie down right in front, keeping my 4 pieces together. I have got my guide in here, which is moving nice and freely. 28 gauge guide, because I'm using 4 28 gauge cores, and then I've got another tie down on that side. But as I said, I always cut off the small pieces of the ribbons, because this guy is going to have to go through the coil jig just now, as what you will see. Now the last thing which I'm going to do is I'm going to run my fingers all the way to the back and make sure that these wires are next to one another at the back, and then I'm going to put another tie down there. That is the prep work which you are going to do. Little guy right at the back, and we've got one over there, another tie down over there, and tie down over there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this guy and we're actually going to put it through our jig. You'll see there's a hole inside over there. So this wire we're going to put through that little hole. Okay, this one over here, which you've got over there, just pull it back, because when you push it through the straw, you actually want it to exit it at the back. Just make sure that your ribbons are nice and short, so that it actually goes through there. There you go. Okay, it's almost exiting the back, and then that goes in front. Right, so here we got the whole guy in focus, running coil jig right at the back. And the last thing which we need to do is, before we actually start, is get ourselves, now I'm using 317 stainless steel, what you can see over there. It's just got a slightly better quality than what the 316 is. So yeah, and there we go. And then you just need to take some of your Claptoning wire, and turn it around the front, just like so. Just want to show you over there that my Claptoning wire I'm actually put through the hole at the bottom over there, the small little hole at the bottom, and then I took it forward and I actually attached it to the front. So you can see the wires nicely next to one another. And this portion I'm going to insert inside my chuck now. You can see the wires are still nice and flat. You can ignore this wire at the bottom over here. This is what I use when I normally do my staggered builds. This little wire at the bottom here has got nothing to do with this. Everything is set. This guy's not too tight. I mean, this is how it rotates. Should still rotate fairly easy. But I mean, if your wire actually breaks, your Claptoning wire breaks, then just loosen this guy a bit then, eh? Just loosen it up a bit then. Right, so fast forward a bit though. There I've got myself a nice long piece. Very nice. Okay, so I'm just going to cut it into 2 pieces and turn 2 coils. Take a 3mm diameters. Just cut these coil legs, and there you go, guys. Quad-core Claptons. 2 nicey coils. If you check nice and closely there, you can actually see the 4 wires next to one another. The 428s. I wish you all the best for making your quad-core Claptons, but I mean, play around with a bit of different things. I mean, try and attach it to your clamp, see how that goes. Leave your clamp out of it. Place your tie downs at different spots. Find a way in which you might have success, but there's a great satisfaction that lies in building your own coils, building your own atomizer, and giving it away. So now I've got 2 more coils I can put in an atomizer. Alright, I'm off to do some juice mixing. Hope you guys get this thing right. This is Kaiser signing over and out. Cheers.